Hello once again, welcome guys to my YouTube channel. And today I want us to finalize on our topic, that is emergency and first aid. And today we are going to finalize on the factors to be considered when deciding the first aid provision and the number of first aiders. So if you want to decide on the number of first aiders as well as the number of first aid equipments that you need to provide for your company, you need to consider the following factors. Number one, the employer should consider the need and therefore should do an assessment in order to determine what the first aid facilities and the equipment should be provided, as well as the trained personnel. How many first aiders do you need in your organization? How many equipments do you need? And how many first aid facilities you require in your organization? So there should be an adequate first aid cover that will cover on all the shift that is daytime, nighttime, weekends, Fridays, afternoon, morning, evening. All these shifts should be considered when providing the first aid provision in your organization. So the provision can be the equipment, the first aiders, and the first aid facilities. First aid facilities, where the first aid will take place and where all the materials, all the equipments are found, the first aid equipments themselves, and the first aiders provision. Now, the following are the factors that you need to consider when providing the first aid requirement in your organization. Number one, the general risk level of the workplace. What is the history of the risks and hazard in your workplace? Maybe you have done an assessment and realized that within a week, like 2 to 3 employees are injured due to chemical due to contact with the chemicals, or they have been injured. We've had so many sick leave within 1 week, or within one month. The number of sick people has been always been increasing day in, day out. So you realize that there is a problem in your organization. And whenever there is a sick person, maybe no matter how small the sickness, or how small the accident is, it requires the sick person or the worker to stop work and go to the hospital. And if this kind of sickness or injuries and harm can easily be assisted, be given assistance, and the worker can continue working in his normal duties after resting for some times, maybe for 30 minutes or for 1 hour, then there is no need for this person to take a leave, because by doing so, the work will delay and the production will also be delayed. So there is a consideration that you need to do an assessment, so that when you've realized that instead of doing a progress in your organization is going down and down because of the number of accidents that happens, and they can be either avoided, or the assistance can be given within the organization and work can continue, then you consider this as a major factor. Number two, hazard presence in the workplace. What kind of hazard do you have in your work areas? Is it chemical? Is it work at height? Is it a fire or electricity? All this, and how likelihood are the hazard are going to cause are going to result into accident and harm. Therefore, this is a major factor that you need also to consider. Number three, the accident history. I already said this one and I will say it again. How many accidents have been recorded within 1 week, within a month, within 3 months? If you find that the number of accidents are more and are increasing day in, day out, there is a need, therefore, to ensure that you provide the necessary assistance through the first aiders and the first aid equipment, so that they can cover or they can cater for the number of accidents that usually occurs. Number 4, the specific procedures required. What procedures are required in your workplace? For example, some toxic materials have specific antidotes or first aid protocols. So if there are some materials in your organization that needs first aid protocols, that is, when you are handling this kind of materials, then after all, you'll end up having the worker or the employee to be given there is a protocol to be followed when handling this kind of materials. Then there is a need to have a first aider who is well trained to conduct this, because as a manager, you cannot be able to handle each and everything in the organization. That is when you start nominating people, give them the necessary training so that they can ease and they can do their specific duties even if you are not around. Next thing is the presence of vulnerable people or persons. If you have pregnant women, if you have, let's say, disabled people in your organization, if you have disabled people in your organization, but they are part of your staffs, you can't just abandon them. You need a first aider so that in case of any incident, they are there to assist them. There is the required equipment. There is the required facilities. You have the wheelchair with you. You have the first aid box and the first aid place, which a room that has been specified for conducting first aid assistance. So all these combined together should be provided to cater for the vulnerable people. So if you have vulnerable people in your organization, then you need to consider providing the first aid requirements or provisions. Next is the number of workers in the workplace. How many first aid kits you're going to provide, how many first aiders you are going to be nominated and given training, and how many facilities, how many areas you're going to put to be considered as a first aid facility to cater for the number of workers. All this will be considered by the number of workers that you have in your organization. If you have a large number of people, therefore you have to consider putting more and more equipments and facilities, and the number of first aiders. If you have a small workplace and a small number of workers, therefore you will only consider putting a little effort in the number of equipments and the first aiders. Next, the next factor is work patterns and shift system of the work. Now, if you have a work which is conducted at night, some work activities during the day, and you have morning and evening shift, then these factors will consider how many workers, these factors will consider how many first aiders you are going to provide and assign them according to the shift. The next factor is geographical allocation of the workplace. How far is your workplace from the hospital? How far is your workplace from the main road? So depending on the geographical location of your workplace, it will determine how many or what kind of or at what extent are you going to provide the first aid provision. And the last thing is the spread of the workplace. This means that how big is your organization and how spread is it. For example, your workplace is made up of many location or departments. You have, let's say, you have an agriculture, you have a rearing area, you have a chicken area, you have mechanical rooms, and we have different departments in your workplace or in your organization, whereby anything can happen at any given moment. And when it happens, then it needs the necessary emergency response. So you will have to consider the provision of the appointment of the first aiders and the first aid equipments and facilities depending on the spread of your workplace. This is a very important factor to consider, and the last factor to consider. So the geographical location of the workplace is very important. It's an important issue to consider when determining the first aid provision. When determining the first aid provision, the geographical location is very much important. The workplaces within easy reach of the emergency services, that is the ambulance and the firefighters, can perhaps provide minimal cover, but the workplace in remote location, which the emergency services may take hours to reach, must have adequate facilities and skilled personnel available at all times. So, when deciding to provide the first aid requirements, you will also consider the major factor, which is the geographical location of your work area. The geographical location plays a very big role when you are determining how many first aid personnel do you need and how many equipments do you also need in your organization. And this marks the end of our today's tutorial. And thank you so much to be with me until the end. The only urge that I'm asking from you is to support this channel because it's still new and we need it to grow so that we share this knowledge to each and every personnel wherever they are. This is Safe Time Online TV. Let's meet in our next video.